Welcome, everyone. My name is Jared, and I'm the CTO of Qoom. I'm here with Kie Song. She and I are excited to be here, and we're really looking forward to showing you some new exciting things that Qoom is providing. Explicitly today, what we're going to be showing is how to use our a login system and our OpenDB system so that you can build a leaderboard on a game. I'm going to be using a game that was created by a couple of our creators at Qoom. Evan Hall and John Burt, they're both high school students, and they built this game that I used as a template to show people how to build a leaderboard. So you could actually use any project that you have and add what I'm showing to you. The reason why we built Qoom is so that we can, our desire is to make it a lot easier for anyone to create web apps. Right now, web application development is really complicated. You have to know a lot of stuff in back end, front end. You have to know DevOps. You have to know database. You have to know all sorts of different technologies. So it really closes the door to the art of web app development to many people. But we feel if you know how to build web applications using just JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, you can actually build almost anything and share it with anyone in the world. And so it's a great power to have. And I hope you guys can see that with this workshop. So let's get started. What I'm going to have you guys do is I'd like you guys to each, go to this tutorial that I am going to be walking through today. So in case if I go too fast or if you need anything, more information about things, you can go here and reference it. So I think DA is going to send it out to you. Oh, maybe I'll just send it out. So this is the notes I'm going to be using. The second thing is Guy just sent out to everyone a link to our homepage, www.qoom.io. And from there, everyone can create their own coding space. And within the coding space, you're going to be able to use our APIs to build web applications. And with our home-built APIs, you don't have to worry about tokens. You don't have to worry about integrating and importing things. It's all built in. So it makes the web app development process a lot easier. I'm going to log out here to show what you would see. So if everyone can now go to sign up, if you haven't already, and just quickly sign up and create your coding space. I'm going to log in and show you what what will happen. Logging in. Now, when you sign up, it should automatically go to your coding space. If you're logging in, you just have to click that button. And then once the coding space is generated, we're going to have you clone the project over, and we're going to get started. So I guess a lot of people are creating the system at once, so I slowed it down a little bit. All right. Okay, voila. I'm in my coding space. I'm going to take a little break here, and I'd like you guys just to send me in the chat. If you guys can just send me a link to your coding space, just go over here, copy, and paste it. Then I can get a sense that you guys have created the coding space, and I can continue. All right, thank you, Pogman, Rick, Edward, awesome. Okay, looks like you guys are having no problem with creating an account. All right, perfect. Now, what I need you guys to do is I need you guys to go to the tutorial page that I sent earlier. And I want you guys to clone the project. So I'm going to right click here, copy the link. And Chromebook go brr. Yeah, Chromebooks might have a hard time with web applications if it uses a lot of CPU. But basically, if you click this link, either through the tutorial clone project or the link I just gave you, it will ask you to clone the project we're going to be using to your space. So just feel free to hit clone. And when you're done, you will get your own version of the of this game. I'm going to wait like 30 seconds to make sure you guys have all done that. please send me any messages in case you having troubles with that. Sure. I could repeat that. Thank you, Murtaza. So what I want you guys to do is either go to the tutorial link if you were able to go there, or click the link that I sent you that says www.qoom.io, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. And click clone project. And then it will ask you to clone, and just click the clone button. Okay, hope that's good, Murtaza, for you. All right. And while you do that, I'm going to make my code a little bigger so you guys can see it. I'm going to, down here, there's a gear right down here where I can click on, and there's some bunch of settings you can change. So I'm going to change it to 24 pixels so you guys can see my code better. And yeah, feel free on your own time to play with all the different settings there. Okay. Once you've gone there, I'm just going to, I can send you the link again. Hopefully this works for you, Michelle. There's the link to the copy of the code to your coding space. All right, I'm going to wait maybe 20 more seconds. Actually, while we wait, why don't you guys play with the game? Let me just show you how it works. You just enter your name right now. I'm going to put test, and then you just play as guest so you guys see how the game works. And you can see a ball going, and if you hit the ball, you die. Or actually, they're asteroids. And when you die, there's a bunch of leaders for me, but for you, probably see no leaders because no one's played your version of the game yet. Okay. Yes, yes, Edward. Yeah, that would have been good for a Space Invaders game. I don't know where Evan and John got the idea for this game, but it's pretty fun to play. And for some reason, when I share my screen and play it, it slows down. I don't know why that happens, but hopefully it's fast for you guys. All right. I hope you guys got a chance to play the game. And I hope you saw the leaderboard. Now, if you want to be a leader, you can create your own account. So I'll create my account, Earthboy, and I'll enter a password like 1234. Qoom encrypts all the passwords in the database, so it can't be hacked. So you just hit create account, and then you can play the game. Someone's trying to call me. All right, so I'm going to die here. Boom. All right. And when game is over, it will go over here. You see Earthboy with 1 point. So if you guys do that, you can see if you do log in or create an account, you will be able to be part of the leaderboard. Now, if anyone goes to your page, your version of the game, they will see the leaderboard as well. Okay. All right, so I will close that, and we'll get started with the tutorial. So what we've just done is we cloned a working version of the system. And what I'm going to ask you to do now is delete code. We're going to delete everything in the JavaScript file, and we're going to recreate it so that you'll learn how to build a leaderboard. Okay. Since we only have an hour and a half, I want to really focus on the JavaScript and teach you how to talk to APIs in JavaScript and how to manipulate arrays in JavaScript, and really focus on that. I'm going to assume that you guys know HTML and CSS. So I'm just going to go into script.js and delete everything there so we can get started coding. The other thing I'm going to be teaching you in this class is how to debug JavaScript as well in the browser. I think a lot of people don't understand how to do that. And I always get students very thankful when I teach that. So I'm going to make that part of this curriculum as well. All right, so once you delete your JavaScript code and you try to, play as guest or create account, log in, nothing happens. If I hit instructions, I can go back and see this, and I can see that I can navigate between pages, but nothing that involves JavaScript works because I deleted it. And to understand this, this is the start page here, start screen HTML. This is what you see when you first load the page. Before we get into JavaScript, I actually gave you guys a chance to understand how the editor works. The editor is, as you type, you see it updated over here. So let's say you don't like space race. Let's say you want to say, I don't know, asteroid avoider, really lame name, but you can change the name of your game, and you can see here it updated, and you can replace created by Evan Hall and John Burt with whatever you like. You freely can just edit what you like to do. So guys, just spend a minute just going to start screen HTML and just looking through it and, try to change some things around. Also, if you don't want the rocket picture, you can always upload here, choose a different image, and replace this link too if you wanted to. All right, hopefully you guys got a chance to play around with some things. We also load the CSS file into this page. So there's a styles.css. You can click this styles.css here, and you can change the CSS what you like to. So if you don't like the black background, you want to make it blue. You like blue better than black, you can feel free to change that as well. I'm going to change it back to black. I just wanted to show you where everything is. Okay. The other thing about the game is, let me just walk you through these files. Space Race HTML is the actual game. And the JavaScript to the actual game is in the Space Race JavaScript here. Then here's the instructions page and the leaderboard page. And that's pretty much the project. So it's very simple. This project JSON file is just used by Qoom to let the server know what is the home page of the application, which is start screen. All right. Any questions? I'll continue on once you have some questions. All right, no questions. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's get this thing to work. Now, if you were on a broken web application and you needed if you were required to fix it, it would be great if you knew how to debug things. And I'm going to start out by debugging this application to show you what is broken. And then we're going to fix things so you get a sense of how to use DevTools and the debugger. And then we're going to start that to start our process of everything. So I'm going to take this page out of the preview by clicking this button here. And I'm going to right-click Inspect. And you probably have done this before, but you might not know what all these things are. But all these tabs are very super useful, and I will show you some of them. The one that we're going to be starting out with is the Console tab. The Console tab tells you where all your JavaScript errors are and gives you clues so you can debug them further. So I'll give you guys about 20 seconds to, right-click Inspect and open up the console. And I went I had my preview here, and I opened this to go full screen. So I can put it in a new tab. And everyone should see this uncaught reference error, load is not defined. Okay. Hopefully you guys are there. Let's go figure out what this means. So it says to go look at the start screen page. So I'll go over here to start screen. And what you can see in the body element, there is a function called load that gets called when the page loads. So we are going to need to create that function. So that was one of the functions we deleted. So I'm just going to write function load to show you in the script.js to show you how this works. And go back here and then refresh. And then you see, oh, the JavaScript went away. Okay. All right, so we created a load function. We don't really know what to put there yet. So let's not worry about it. Later on, we're going to put some code there. The second thing we're going to do, we're going to get each of these buttons working in order. So first, we're going to get this play as guest button working, which where I'm going to teach you how to use local storage to store information in the browser. So when you play as a guest, you don't want to send the server any information. You want it to be anonymous. So we're going to create this play as guest mode so that your browser will remember who you are, but not the server. So let's go over to the screen.html and see what happens there. Okay, there's this function called play as guest, and we're going to create that. Go to script.js, and we're going to create that function. Okay. All right, so we have a play as guest function. Now, what we want it to do, like I said, the first feature we want to implement is storing the username into local storage. So the username is right here. So when I hit play as guest, I want to store that in local storage so that if I come back to my page, it remembers me. So let me kind of teach you what local storage is here on the console. And when I write things on the console, you're more than welcome to open up the console and follow along. But let's say I'm going to store something. Let's say I want to store the name. I'm going to put, what I can do is call set item. I can put a name is what I want to store, and I can put my actual name, like Jared. Okay. And then if I want to get the name, it's just as easy as local storage.getItem name. There, I got my name. Now, if I refresh my screen and I call local storage get item again, it will remember who I am. So I'm just storing this in the browser. And you can see that in the storage tab over here. I think on Chrome, it's called application tab. And you can go over here to local storage, open up this, and then you should see what I stored, name Jared. And you can see some other things that Qoom stores for you. So it remembers your settings. All right. And we can store up to 4 megabytes of stuff in here. All right. So let's use this now to store the name that the user types here. Okay. So basically what I want to do is if I type Jared here and I hit play as guest, when I refresh, I want it to basically remember Jared. Okay. So to do this, we're going to need to first get the value out of this input box. So let's go see in start screen what it is. And I have an input box right here. So enter name here, max 10 characters. That matches this. So that is where I'm gonna grab that input. So this has an ID of name. So in script.js, I can create a constant variable to hold that data. So I'm just going to get element by ID. Name. Okay. All right. So this will now, let me show you what this does. This get element by ID. I'll go back to console here. It puts this input into this, it outputs the actual HTML input element. What I really want is the value. So if I put tomato here, I want this to output tomato. So what I need to do is get dot value from that, and that gives me tomato there. So let's make sure we put that dot value there. So now I can get what the user typed in, right? And let's give them a warning. If they didn't type anything, let's let them know that they didn't type anything and they can't continue until they do. So let's say, basically I can say, if there is no name, right? If this is empty, if there's no name, I can then exit the function by returning an alert, please enter a name. Okay. So when I go back and I delete this and I go play as guest, well, let me refresh. I didn't refresh. Okay, play as guest. It will say, please enter a name. Okay. All right. I'm going to pause here for a minute and let you guys try that out. And if you need to copy my code ever, I'll send you a link to my code so that you guys can grab what you need if I'm going too fast for you. And I can answer any questions right now if you have them. So what I'm teaching you guys is it's called vanilla JavaScript. There's no libraries. And what I tell a lot of students is it's really important you learn how the vanilla JavaScript works before going to React or going to Vue or some other framework. The reason being is really good to understand how the fundamentals work. And for a lot of things, you won't need React for, and it's be good if you know the fundamentals and you can just create it in vanilla JavaScript because you can make a lot faster web application or a better user experience if you use vanilla in some cases, especially the simple cases. All right. Okay, that was a minute of that. Next, now let's store this name into local storage, which I just showed you how that worked. So basically, I can now go local storage dot set item name, and I can put whatever the user typed in into name. Okay. And on load, if I really want to, if there is local storage there, if the name is in local storage, I just want to put that value in local storage into my name element. So basically all I have to do here is go this is equal, so when they local storage dot get item name. Okay. So that way when the page loads, it will grab it from local storage and I can put it into my input box. So let me just show you how that works and I'll let you guys test it. So if I refresh, it says Jared because that's what's in local storage. If I go to storage tab and delete it, delete name, and then I hit refresh again, delete name, hit refresh, it doesn't, it's not there. So now I can put in tornado, hit play as guest, and now if I open this up in a brand new tab, for example, here, you can see it's tornado. So it knows who I am. Okay. All right, so I hope you got that. Now before we get into the server-side storing of data, I just want to say this is a simple way of storing data, and for a lot of use cases, this is good enough. You don't need a database. Where you need a database is where you need to save the data on the server. So if the person goes to another computer, or they go to their phone, or basically another device, and they log in, they want to see the same data. Then you need to use the database. But let's say all the user does is ever go to their browser, never goes to their phone, and there's no need to create a database for that type of scenario. And there's other stuff in here too. Let me just show you really quick. And you guys can, on your own time, follow your curiosities. There's something called cookies. There's something called IndexedDB, and there's something called session storage. So there's 4 ways you can, and there's cache too. There's 5 ways here you can actually store data in the browser, and they each have their merits. And then they're each easy to use, just like this. There's nothing really hard about it. All right, so next, we're ready now to continue to the next button. So the next button here is create account. Using cookies to store data. Yeah, that's cookies. I guess I was wrong with what I just said. Using cookies to store data and get data out, that's way too complicated. That's an art in itself. The thing with cookies is that it was very old technology, and that's the reason why they built local storage, to take some of the use cases out of cookies into that. All right, so next we want to create an account. So now what we're going to do is ask the user for a password, and take the username and password, send it to Qoom. So Qoom can then store it in the database in an encrypted, safe manner, so that it's safely secure there. And then your users of your application that you create can then log in and have a user experience that is unique to their own. Okay, so let's get started the same way. I'm going to go to create account on the start screen. And here is create an account. Here's the function that we deleted. So let's go back to script.js and create that. Okay. All right. Now there's 3 things we're going to do here. All right. So I'm just going to write them down in comments so that you understand the steps. First thing is, we're going to need to validate the data. So this is a typical 3 steps when you're talking to API. So an API is a way to talk to a computer. It's like a set of instructions the server defines that you need to honor in order for the server to do your bidding. That's why they're called servers, because they're there to serve you as a user of the application. So before we send anything to the server, we need to validate the data to make sure we're not sending it any garbage or anything malicious. Okay. The second thing we need to do is send the data to the server. All right. And the third thing we're going to need to do is handle the response from the server. So the server is either going to like what we sent it, or it's not going to like what we sent it. And we're going to need to handle those 2 responses. Okay. So when you're working with APIs or working with talking to server, again, these are the 3 standard things you're always going to need to do. So validate the data in our case is basically we want to check there's a name and a password. Play as guest already has that code, so I'm just going to copy it. And I'm going to copy it twice. 1 for name and 1 for password. So I think that's what I called it. In the up here, yeah, ID is name. Okay. All right, so I'm going to call that password. Also on Qoom, a lot of modern browsers, a lot of modern IDEs have this. You can, if you want to change the 3 words in one go, you can double click the word to select it, and then you can hit Control D to do what's called multi-cursors. And then you can just enter your password like that. So I don't know if you guys seen that before. Visual Code has that, and Sublime Text does that. So it's just something really cool trick that speeds up your development process. So again, if you haven't seen it, Control D allows you to do that. All right. Now we're not doing any more validation than this, but if you were trying to build something to protect people from more malicious things, you could add like password rules. You can check the password to see if it has it's long enough or it has special characters and things like that. You're more than welcome to create that code on your own. Right? So now if I hit create account, I should say, please enter a password. Okay, I'll let you guys play with that and play with that Control D. Yes, you would definitely do the validation on the server as well. There's a rule of thumb. Thank you, Edward. Edward was asking, wouldn't you do that too on the server? Yes, and the server should never trust the client. There's a golden rule there. So Qoom has a lot of validation rules on that there already written. And hopefully in not too long future, you're going to be able to also do backend coding on Qoom, so you can do the full stack. We're working on that right now, so you can see how that works. Okay. So hopefully that you get the sense of that validation. Let's now send the data to the server. Okay. The way we're going to send the data to the server is using a function called fetch. And fetch is a function that's built into the browser that's used to talk to servers. You might have heard of a company called Postmon. Their whole business is allowing you to write fetch in their web app or in their offline app so that you can talk to servers. It's a really cool tool, and I saw that they're doing a tech talk for you guys. So if you want to learn how to talk to servers more, I recommend you guys listen to that workshop. So Michelle's asking a great question. Will you use promises to handle responses? And I was just debating in my head, should I show you promises or not? I was going to use async await instead. But quickly, I can show you the two patterns, Michelle, since you're asking. I'm going to go back up to here, to my page here. I'll go to console, so I can just demo what fetch does. Let's say I wanted to grab this page. So the URL right here is a way to talk to servers. It's a way to talk to the server API. I can just put that URL there, and I can do .then. So this is what Michelle was talking about, promises. What this is after the browser sends the request, we need to wait for the response. So if you have a slow internet connection, it might take 2-3 seconds to get that response. So we want to tell the browser what to do after we get that response. In .then, you can create a function that gets called after the response comes back. So I can create a function here. I'm just going to use standard JavaScript functions here. And I can get a response. And I can console log that response just to show you what that looks like. And I hit enter. And there's my response. See, it came back and it has all this magic stuff here about what's going on. And then I can do another .then. I'm sorry. So then I can go here and I can have the server, the client parse the response as text. So I can do response.text.then. And then I can have my text. And I can console log text. All right, let me just do that. And then there's the text for the whole website. All right, so that is promises, and it's quite ugly. And so what I'm going to show you instead is something called async await. So the code that is executed after fetch can run before the .then function? Yes. Wait. The code that is executed... Okay, first, I have two questions here. A quick question. How do you get the URL for the API? So I'm going to show you that when we go through the process of where you can get that API URL. In my example here, the simplest way to get an API URL is just go to the browser and get it. And that will get you the text of the website. And the second question is, the code that is executed after fetch can run before the .then function? Yes, it could. So if I do this again, and I put like console log hello, this console logs after the fetch, but since it's it would be called immediately after the fetch, and then when a response comes back, this function would be called. So if I hit return, you can see here is hello. It's the first thing that you see. All right, great question, Edward. Now what I'm going to show you next, though, is a way to make this a lot cleaner, so you don't have all these .thens and all these functions created. And that's what async await allows you to do. So I'm going to, I'll show you in the browser what this looks like really quick. I'm going to create what's called an async function, get page. All right. And what I can do here now is I can do just like standard like coding. I can just do I can do a fetch. Let me just get the URL. But instead of doing .then here, I can just put a keyword await. And now anything that's after the fetch will only occur after a response came back. So I can do text await response dot text, and then I can do console log text. Okay, create that function. Now if I run it, you can see long and below it works the same way. Yes, you can use it with ES6 functions, and I'm going to jump into those next, actually. So you're really reading my mind, Michelle. Maybe you should teach this with me. All right. Okay. All right, so now let's use fetch now to create the account. So what we're going to need to do to create this account is we're going to need a path to the API path. And then we're going to have a series of options. So this is like the standard way. And the options define what data gets sent to the server. So we're going to need to send this username and password to the server. So we're going to need to put that into the options field. Okay. And I'm going to make this async. And I'm going to do a wait here, so we can wait till it happens. For what I just showed you. So now let's just fill in those details. So constant path. And I'll show you where you get the API call now to actually create the account. Qoom has we're really working hard to improve this user experience, but right now we don't have the perfect experience done because we just released this and we're starting to promote it. But if you go to this database beta button, you can learn how to use our different database systems. And what we're going to be using is our login system. If you go there, we have this button that will create a bunch of code for you. Now, this is all how to talk to APIs using HTML form elements. And I was really working hard to try to get documentation done for you guys so that you would see it in JavaScript. So I'm sorry I wasn't able to do that. But what you can see here is this action here. And this action has the URL that we want to send the data to. So the flow of this is, this tilde means your home page. And then inside my home, I have a projects folder. And then I have a space race project inside of that. And then /signup just tells the server I want to sign up. Okay. All right. So there's our path. Now I need to tell it that I need to send it. Let me define options now. Okay. So options is a big object that has lots of properties in here, and fetch has lots of power. So we're going to touch a very small set of the things you can do with options. But if you have used Postman before, you're probably aware of all the different options are required to talk to APIs. And the most basic option is the method or the verb we're using. So we're going to send it as a post request. And this tells the server that the data can be found in the in this body field. Okay. So what we want to send is the name and password. Okay. But we have to send it like this. We have to say it's the username. So the name is the username. And the password is just password. Okay. All right. And in JavaScript, if the key to the object and the value object are the same, you can just delete that, and it's smart enough to know what you want. Okay. But the problem with this is fetch only can send certain types of data. So and we are going to be sending it strings. It can't just send it an object. It doesn't know what to do with it. It will get an error. So we're going to convert this object into a JSON string. Okay, so it's going to stringify that so we can send it over the pipe. Okay. Next, we need to tell it what format we're sending this data. And that is through the headers. So we're going to send it a header called content type to tell it what's the language or the data type of the data we're sending. And we're going to send that as application JSON. And finally, if the server sees an error, it's going to request the browser to do a redirect. And we want to throw an exception if that happens. So we want to do redirect error here so they can throw that exception. Okay. All right. Cool. And if you're having troubles typing, that's okay. That's more important if you listen and then just try to type and follow along. I just really want to show you how the theory works, and we're going to repeat fetch a lot in this workshop. All right, so after we fetch, we need to handle the response. So basically, if there is no exception that gets thrown here, we want to take them to the game page. So we just go location.href to take them to this space race game. So we go to that URL. Projects, space race, name of the folder, the file is in, and we want to go to that file, space_race. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to show you how this works, and then we'll get to the unhappy case. Yeah, Edward, that's a great question. I maybe went through that too fast. So Edward is asking, basically here, don't I need to put :password here? And I'm going to show you that you don't with the newer versions of JavaScript. Let me show you how that works. So let's say I had username is equal to 22, and a password is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Say that's what I submitted. I can create an object, so options, like this. I can go username, comma, password. And JavaScript's smart enough to know that this key is actually a variable name. So go grab the contents of the variable and set it like that. Hope that makes sense, Edward. Yeah, no, I melted my heart too when I saw that. Okay. Yeah, JavaScript does things very colloquially. If you ever do Python, you can see it's a lot more stricter. JavaScript is not that way. All right, so let's see if this works now. I'm going to enter my password, 1234, and I'm going to create an account, and I go to my page. So that seemed to work fine. Let's check the database now to see if it's in there. I'm going to go to database beta again, add login system. I know this is lots of steps here. My login system. And then I've done this several times, so I have a lot of projects here. I think this is the last one I want. I go to view data. And you can see here, I have all my users and stuff. So I've done this quite a bit on mine. So anyway, you guys can play with that too. I want to see if this one has just one. No, this one has 3. Okay. All right. Now, before I let you guys just kind of try it, let me just do one last thing to finish up this function, and that's handle the unhappy case. So let's say there was something bad happened, and I need to tell the user of that. So one thing that could bad happen is someone else could try to use Tornado. Well, I don't want them to use Tornado. I want them to know that someone else is using it. So I can put a try catch here. Whoops. And basically, put a catch here. Actually, I don't want to go to the game, so actually put that into try, actually. And so if this throws an exception because it probably redirected, then I want to let them know, oh, probably you used a username that already exists. So I can put an alert here. Username is already taken. All right. See if this works now. I'm going to try turnip again. I should have created that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. I don't get a JavaScript error here. So I think I must have messed something up. All right, so this is an opportunity to show you debugging because I'm not perfect, especially when I'm coding everything from memory. I'm going to hit refresh here and see if I have any errors. It looks like I do right here. A couple errors here. String literal contains an unescaped line break, line 35. Okay, I don't know. Okay, so let me go to line 35 and see what's happening. Oh, I forgot to put the quote there. Stupid. All right, we all make stupid mistakes. Okay, let's try that again. It's really important to know you have a friend here in DevTools to help you find those stupid mistakes. All right, let me try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it takes me to the game. Oh, I got a bad request now. Okay, so let's debug this one now. I must have made another stupid error. So here the server is saying that it didn't understand the request. All right, so let me see what I sent it. So I can go to the network tab here. Actually, I can go back to console. I can open this up. Go to request. Oh, it says no username provided. But I said username was Tornado. Okay. Must have been doing something silly here. No username provided. Post. All right, that's not very helpful because I know I'm sending a username. I'm sending my options here. Body, JSON, stringify. I think I spelled everything correctly. All right. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to go view my original code because I don't know what I did wrong. Go here to create an account. Username. Okay, so I have the method. I have the headers, body, and redirect. Method, headers, body, redirect. Okay. Method, body, headers. I forgot the S. That's what it was. All All right, it's another stupid mistake. All right, let's try it again. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Create an account. Username's already taken. There we go. Got it to work finally. All right, if I'm having issues with it, you guys probably will too. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to try to get to work on your own. And let me know if you have any questions. And Michelle, I haven't forgotten about your ES6 function question. We'll get there shortly. All right, again, here's my code if you need it. All right, I'll give you guys one more minute. All right, it's 5:30. I'm just going to continue. Just throw me more questions if you have them. All right, so our next button to do is the login button. Now, let's do that next. So I'm gonna log in, and I want to be able to log in. I won't be able to log in. Let me create another account though. So I'm starting in a login state. Tornadoes. Create an account. Oh, maybe that was taken too. Tornadofy. Okay. Now I have that Tornadofy account now. If I go back, you're going to see a slightly different user experience here. And that's because in the HTML, Qoom uses something called mustache templating to do some basic data binding. And I'll get into what that means next. So let's go over to the start screen.html, and you might have noticed a few of these weird things. Like there's this double curly brace here. Okay. So this double curly brace, I can see it down here too. Welcome back. So you can see this welcome back Tornadofy. This, if I'm logged in, the server knows who I am through a cookie. So this is what cookies are for. Cookies are for to send login information back and forth between the server and every single request. And through that cookie, the server knows who I am. And so the server can then go look up in the database and look up my username. And Qoom has this code on the back end that will take the HTML file and look for all these double curly braces. And if it sees one, it will do something special. So in this case, it's just going to put the username there. Okay. Now we protect people's passwords, so you can't do double curly brace password and get people's passwords. But later on, when we get to the OpenDB, you can actually add all sorts of different data in here. The other thing we have is this private. So when you have a hashtag here, it's just basically saying if the person's logged in, if this is private for the account owner's eye only, then this is visible. So if the user is logged in, you would see this. The user is not logged in, which is the caret, the user would see the inputs, which you don't see. They're hidden. And you can see the same thing here with the 3 buttons. Once I'm logged in, I don't need to show the play as guest, create account buttons anymore. Instead, if the user's logged in, I want to show play and log out. Okay. So what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be implementing the log out so that we can then implement the login. And then we'll be done with this page. Well, then we also have to implement the play button too. So we have 3 functions to go. So actually, let me just implement the play button really quick. It's really easy. Let me go to script.js. And I'm just going to create a play function here before I forget. Basically, play, all it's going to do is going to take the person to the game. And actually, I forgot to do that as play as guest. After the user plays as guest too, we want the person to log in. Sorry, I missed that. So now if I hit play, I can go to the game, hit back, and I can just toggle back between these 2 screens now. All right. Okay, now we got the easy stuff done. Let's go over to the logout. So I'm going to create another function here at the bottom. I'm going to bring up some code here so you can see it. And this is also going to use fetch because I have to tell the server. So whenever I talk to the server, I'm always going to create an async function so that I don't have to deal with promises. Now, I think Michelle mentioned something called ES6 functions. It's just a different way of writing functions. There's some differences between the 2, but in this case, we can do the same. So I'm going to rewrite this as an ES6 function. So what I can do here is I can delete the word function. I can create this as a variable is equal to like this. So an ES6 function allows you to do a mapping like that, which to me looks a little ugly in this scenario. It doesn't really clear what's going on. So you could do it this way, Michelle, if you want. I'm going to stick to the traditional way of doing it. And when we get to array manipulation, that's where ES6 functions really take their power and clean things up. So I'm going to save ES6 functions to the array manipulation part. All right, so logging out, what do I need to do? Well, I need to know what the API call to call again, right? So let's go over to the database here, create code. Here we go. This one's even fetch. So I can just copy this and do a fetch call. And I'm going to await fetch. So wait till that's done. And basically when I log out, I just want to reload the page. So reload. This would just reload the page. Okay. All right. So now that I have that, I can hit log out. And it refreshes the page. And you can see now, thanks to those double curly braces, I have the original view back. Right. All right, that finishes log out. Any questions? Nope. All right, let me do login really quick, and then I'll give you some moments to play around with it. So login is basically the exact same, not the exact same, almost the exact same as sign up. We want to do the exact same thing, right? We want to get the name, we want to validate the data, we want to send data to the server, and we want to handle the response. And we want to do those things in basically the same way. So I'm going to copy that, and go to login. With one difference, though. We have to tell the server that we're not signing up, we're logging in instead. So let's go see how to do that. Go here, create code, and down here, to log in, I just need to use the login method. So I just type login there. Everything else is the same. I mean, I'm posting the data, I'm stringifying it, still going to send it JSON. I still want to redirect on errors. Oh, but if there's an error when they're logging in, it's probably because the password's wrong. So probably have to say enter a correct password here. So that's one thing we're going to need to change to. All right. So I'm going to do a tornado, and I'll enter the wrong password and see what happens. Oh, enter a correct password. So you're smart enough to know that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Log in. I guess I don't remember my password for tornado. Tornadify. I should use, I'm going to use a different name instead of tornado. I think I've been overkilling that. So I'm going to actually log in as wheat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Create an account. Back. Let me log out. Let me try wheat again. Log in. Yeah, that time it worked. All right. Sorry about that. I changed things around a lot. Okay. That finishes up log in and log out now. And I will send you you have my code there if you need it. I'll just, as you guys play with it, if you need me to repeat it, you can listen to me again. What I did is created a logout button and a login function and a play function. For play, I just want it to go to the page directly. For log out, I call fetch, just tell it log out. It's the same thing as, sign up and log in. All I'm doing is changing this last verb in my API call. Posting it, because I'm asking the data, I'm asking for the state on the server to change. So I want to post it. Reloading the page after logging out so that I won't get I can reset the form. And then log in. Same thing. Sign up minus this and what I want to say when something bad happens. Simple. All right. All right. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to, mull that over, play with it, and then we'll move over to building out the leaderboard. Actually, I'm just gonna play the game a little more so that I can build up my leaderboard stuff. Here. Okay. Oh yes, Michelle, thank you. DEX is a variable. Until very recently, you needed to add. I don't know if all modern browsers have it, but yeah. In the next year or so, I believe you can delete the EX, but it should be a must-have for now. And it contains information about the exception that was thrown. But in the 2020 version of JavaScript, they got rid of the requirement of having it. All right. I'm going to just continue playing the game until I die, and then I want to show you what happens when I die. So I'm going to test my luck. I'm not going to try to avoid anything. I'm just going to go straight, see how far I can go. One thing you can see is the game gets harder and harder and harder by adding more asteroids. Ooh, geez, I'm getting really lucky. Had some close calls. Maybe I do need to try to die. Oh, that was close. I thought I was going to die then. Boom. Okay, now I'm dead. And look what happened over on the right. I got all this red. Little bad things a lot of happened here. All right. So it's saying, it's really complaining, sin score is not defined. So let's go figure out where that's happening. It gives us a clue. It's happening in Space Race JS at line 144. So let's go look at that code. So if you remember, I think I showed you at the beginning, space race HTML is the game, and it calls JavaScript, space race JS for the game. So in here on line number, oh God, what was the line number again? 144. Scroll down to 144. Let's see what's there. See if we can make heads and tails of this. Okay. So I'm in a function called check for collision. Okay, if there is a collision, that makes sense. I just want to say game over. Yiddy daddy daddy, add that to the HTML. Oh, and then there's a function called send score that I must have deleted when we started this workshop. Yeah, visible stress. Yes, exactly. All right, so let's go create this function send score now. So let's go to script.js. And I'm going to send it to the server. So I want to make an async function again. Send score. And if I looked at it again, it takes in the score, actual score of the game. That's great. All right, so I can take that score here as input. All right. So again, I'm talking to the server. I can do three things: validate the data, send the server data to the server, and handle the response from the server. In this case, I'm not going to validate the data. I'm going to trust the JavaScript code that's in this game to give me a reasonable score. Since it's something that I own as the owner of this game, I should be able to trust my own stuff. So I'm not going to validate. So instead, I'm just going to send the data. Okay. So basically, it's just I'm going to copy and paste this as like a template now, so that you can see how this works. The path is going to change. And this time, I'm going to send the data to a public database so that everyone can see that leaderboard. You don't have to be logged in to see the leaderboard. So again, go to your database button. There's something called OpenDB, which is an open database, so anyone can read it and send data to it. All right. So I'm gonna wait. I should go back. Create code. No name provided. That's the thing. With OpenDB, we need to give it a name of a table. So in database lingo, a table is like a spreadsheet. So if let's say you're creating a Google spreadsheet to store data, you're going to give that spreadsheet a name so that you can have multiple spreadsheets, right? Well, same thing here. Under Project Space Race, we can have multiple databases. So we can have multiple spreadsheets. So let's give it a name. I'm going to call it Space Race. And I'm going to create the code now so I can see what I get. All right, there's the URL to send data. Pop that into there. All right. And see, again, I'm saving it to the database, so I want it to be post. And what I want to send now is two things. I want to send the score. I don't want to send the password this time. And I want to send the username. All right. Now, when I'm playing the game, the username, we didn't code this, but you can see whoever coded this before is storing the name in a global variable called window.playerName. So if you don't know, window is a global object in client-side JavaScript that you can store anything into. So I'm just going to copy that window.playerName, go over here, and I'm going to call that the player. Okay. And again, I don't need the second score here because I'm using it. The name of the variable is score, so I can get rid of that. Sending it JSON. Now it's not really redirecting an open database, so I can get rid of this. It's not like a login form where it wants to redirect you to an error page. This doesn't do it that way. All right. Now I can await for options, and I don't need to go to the space race game. I don't need to do anything there. I can probably get rid of the whole try catch. I just want to send it to the database. So I believe in Space Race JS, there's code here to already send you to the leaderboard after 2 seconds. So I don't need to put that into my function. So this is very short and sweet. Okay, so let's see if this works. I'm going to go I'm going to go refresh here. This time I'm going to try to die. I wish this game was a little faster when I'm not screen sharing. So slow. Okay, now I'm going to die right here. Boom. Okay, I'm dead. I don't get a bazillion errors. But I do 2 seconds later, I do get another error because when the leaderboard, there's a function you have to create to create it. But let's now verify the data is in the database. Again, I'm going to go to the database beta, use OpenDB, go to my OpenDB. Here's Space Race. So you can see it. There's the name of the table. I called it there. View data. And there it is. I'm wheat, and I got 1 point. So the data is there. All right. Cool. We're making good time. I'm going to give you guys a minute to digest that. And then in the last 10 minutes, we'll finish up the leaderboard with all fun array manipulations. Another reason I love JavaScript is because manipulating arrays is a lot of fun. It's very easy. Okay, so I guess a minute has passed. Let's go on to their last step and generating that leaderboard. So let's go to leaderboard.html and see what we need to do. I think over here it gave me an error. Get leaders is not defined. See where that is. So when the page loads, it calls a function to get the leaders. Okay. So let's create that. Why is my, it's not right here. Where's my code go? Oh, here it is. Sorry. All right, so let's create that function because again, I'm going to talk to the server to get those leaders, making it async. Okay. All right. And I am going to copy my template here. All right, so get the leaders. Let's go get our URL. Go to OpenDB. I call this Space Race. All right, that does that. I'm going to go to my OpenDB. I think this is in use data. Kind of weird, it's new places. Yeah, it's right here. So here's the code we can just copy. And I'm going to paste it here. So to use my template, I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to put that as the path. So that is my path. And you can see the URL is very similar. The URL is very similar to when we sent the score. It's the same thing. It's actually the same exact URL, except we have a query string called all equals true. And the other big difference is our method is get, because we're asking the server to get data from the server instead of asking the data to change data on the database. So we're going to use a get. And when we use a get, you can't use body. The way you send data with a get request is through a query string. And that is why when you're doing like signing up and log in, you want to use post. Because if you use get, the password will be in the query string, and then whoever has your ISP then will be able to look at the logs and see everyone's passwords, which would be really bad. So we can't do body and headers because it makes sense for a get request. And actually, we don't even need options because by default, it is get request by default. So it makes it really simple. So let me show you what this does in the dev tool. So if we go over here and I create this function, and if I'll get leaders, I forgot I need to console log JSON. Whoops. Show you what this does. Sure. Oh, and let me call it get leaders. And there's I have two things in my leaders now. And you can look in here and understand the data. All right, so our leaders have two things in it. It's an array of objects. And inside the object, there's a bunch of data about things. But the important thing is the data that is actually what we want is inside this data field. So if we want to get the player name, we'll just use, the item.data.player and such, which you'll see shortly. All right, so we get the leaders. All right, now we need to figure out what we want to do with this data. Well, what we want to do is put it in here. So if I go to the HTML page, let's see if there's a place to put it in. Yeah, right here. Here's the place. Display all the high scores, leaders. So I'm just going to put the data in there. All right. And let me create that as a variable here. Leaders document dot get element by ID again. Leaders. And just to show you this is working, I'm just going to go leaders dot, I'm going to put something in there. Inner HTML is going to equal to JSON.stringify. Convert that into a string so I can see it. JSON. And now if I refresh, there's my data. All right. So now the trick is now to write code so the data looks nice. So we just have to convert it into JavaScript, meaning into HTML. And we have 5 minutes to do that. So if I go a little fast, I apologize. I just want to be able to catch this all in time. So as you saw, JSON is an array. If I go back here and call get leaders, I have an array here, and I'm going to loop through this array to just get the things I want. All right. So to do that, I'm going to do leaders dot inner HTML is equal to JSON, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to map the data into a div. So I can take each item. This is getting to that ES6 function Michelle was talking about. So I have two things in my JSON array, and I can do something like this. All right, and what this is doing is it's a function that's taking an item and doing something, transforming the item. This is called a lambda function, another way of calling it. And map, what it does is it's going to call this function for every item in the array. So the way I'm going to transform it is I'm going to transform it into a div. And I'm going to use string templating here. So I can inject the JavaScript into a string. Okay. And the backticks here allows me to write things in multiple lines. So I can go here like this. Let me just kind of make this look easier to read. I'm going to create a div, and then in here I'm going to create I'm going to put like item.data.player. So if you look back here, here's my item data.player. So if I refresh, I have 2 players, Wheat and GitHub 133. So someone else must have created it. All right. Yeah, I made that decision about DevTools being better in Firefox too. There's some really cool things in Firefox I'm not showing you that Chrome doesn't have. All right, I have the player. I also want to get the index, like 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So I can actually pass in an I here to get that index. And I can do, $I here, +1. So it starts with that. And then I want to get the score. All right, so it's going to say its rank, its name, and the score. There we go. 1 and so forth. And it looks like GitHub 133 has higher 7. So I need to sort my results as well. So let me do that too really quick. All right. So before we map it, we can actually do a dot sort. So this is one thing I love about JavaScript or array manipulations is you can chain them together. So once I have my array, let me sort them first, and you can build a custom sorter. And the way this works is it takes 2 things out of the array and it compares the 2. And you can just choose what you want to compare. So I'm going to compare the first item, data.score, and I'm going to make that an integer, parse int it. And if that is greater than the first thing I'm looking at, I want it to go on the top. Otherwise, I want it to go on the bottom. So if you don't know what I wrote here, just look it up. It's really cool how to do the sorts. But if I go back here, you should see that GitHub now is number 1. Apple, good. You guys are playing with it. This is awesome. And wheat is 1. So now I have it sorted. One thing you can see here also, I have these commas. That's because JavaScript converts arrays into a commented list. So let me join all the things in my array into a string. So I'm just going to join them together with the new line character. If I go back, there you go. Perfect. All right, so I have a sorted list. And the other thing I wanted to show you is that we can filter too. I can take an item, and let's say I only want the top 10. Well, I can take another function and only keep the things that where I is less than 10. And this will allow me to do a top 10. Okay. And you can't really see that because we don't have 10 players yet. But we have 4. So let me just show you if I did the top 3, for example, change that to a 3. Refresh. I just have 3. All right. And voila, we have a leaderboard. And you guys see, you guys are creating accounts. Apple has 100 points, so she might have hacked into the system. I don't know if she really has 100 or he has 100, but just like with any API that is out there, it's easy if it's open. It's easy to hack if you use DevTools. And this one's no exception. You can write fetch in console and put anything you want and send it to the server. And the server doesn't have validation for it. It will just accept it. And our OpenDB doesn't have that much validation because we want to keep it open and flexible for you guys. So it's up to you guys to write the code to prevent absurd things from happening on your app. All right. The other thing with the OpenDB, we're going to implement a 2-week limit. We don't want people to create databases and leave them in the cloud and have people just be able to submit data years on end and use it as to do evil things. So you're going to have to refresh it every 2 weeks if you have an app that uses OpenDB. I think Firebase does something similar. I think it's just quite a standard out there that does that. Anyway, that wraps it up. I'll stay here if you have any more questions. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoy teaching you guys.